don't know when we got to know each other. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What do you think?
I think that it was around 3 years ago. Likely a bit more because I've seen you at the gym like I think that
Yeah.
since the start or around the time I started at LEC. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah,
long. And I think I think I saw you in the gym a couple of times, and then we had a longer chat, the first longer chat when we were both studying at the uni, I think. I remember I
yeah.
was studying for a hieroglyphics final.
I remember that conversation quite well. Yeah, it was a very nice chat. I was actually on the journal that I was writing now. So I met this guy during my trip in Brazil. I think that I've mentioned him to you. I'm not sure though.
Okay. That's
But he's a guy from India. His name is Dave, and
huh.
he lives in Berlin. And I think that like since the second day that I saw him, like you came straight to my mind, and I want so badly for you two to meet each other. I don't know if it's gonna go well or what's gonna happen, but you know that kind of sensations of like when you meet someone new and then you have
Uh-huh.
someone in the back of your mind and like for
Yeah.
some reason you just have the impression that some really nice chemistry is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. You came to my mind a couple of times, and that was one of the moments.
That's awesome. Well, I'd love to meet him. Maybe
Um,
one day the stars align, we get to make it happen.
Indeed. But yeah, I don't know. We met there. The first time we really talked was at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
We had some things in common, which made me quite like surprised because I hadn't met any Dutch people that shared that with me,
Uh-huh.
that aspect of life. So you just like, kind of like threw me at the stars, and I was like so excited and like such person connected to their spirituality or their
Yeah.
this search for meaning, but also acceptance of like, time will tell.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was one of my first big impressions of you
Yeah.
and our relationship.
Yeah. Same, same. It's been really precious, and I've kind of accepted that I mean, of course you're not moving back here or anything, but that we're going to have this friendship that I don't know. I've had it with, and I have it with maybe one or two other people where I'm not close in proximity, but I do feel this connection. I had it with my wife when I met her at the start, where I was like, I'm not sure how, but I feel like you're going to be playing some part in my life. Uh, I don't know what that story is or how it will go, but yeah. So I've always cherished that since that first time we spoke, and I also just think you're really fun to hang out with. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So we used to share it all the time.
No, and the thing that's nice also, I well, I'm gonna say it and then you just cut or
Yeah,
restart later. But I think it's very fun because like our first meetings we were talking about like these
yeah,
very like I don't want to say metaphysical, but these philosophical things. And then when Layla started to get close to Jack,
yeah,
the impression that she had of you was just like two kindergartens, like saying shit, being racist as fuck. And the thing is that I'm very racist with Layla as well. So like it was so fun to have this other impression of you. But yeah, I also think that you're very fun. Yeah.
yeah. Just like making really stupid jokes. I had Jack here just now. We were having like
Nice.
you just shit on each other the whole time, and it's the best. It's just that's
That's
just
the best.
yeah. It's a good like the same with my wife. You know, like when we just met, we had like really serious conversations, and we still have them. But then she was worried. She's like, what if he can't have fun at all? And then after a while, it's mostly that, and she's like, "Oh shit." I,
I remember that when we ate at the Indian restaurant, you told me that she loved Disney movies and you
yes,
watched them so much. I
yes,
thought that
still
was very
do,
nice.
still do, man. It's the best.
Sweet. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite one?
Oh, it's a good question.
Like a couple's favorite one?
Yeah, I've asked someone asked this question to me before recently. I think I would say Lion King. I think so, but I'd have to wait. Can you name a couple? Maybe we have Lion King. You got the classics, you know. Mm,
I don't know. I was always more of a Pixar boy, so
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of Disney movies. Let me see.
I think Lion King. I think Lion King, if I would have to say. It just touched me as a personal quest. Like, he goes into well, first, he starts and he's just ready to be king and he's got all this confidence and this and that. And he's kind of naive about it. And then his
Yeah.
dad just gets murdered. Uh, and then he wants to run away from all that responsibility and he goes into the, Hakuna Matata vibe, which is just zero responsibility and living on your own. And then he realizes he has to turn back and kind of fulfill his destiny. It's always spoken to me, like as yeah, like the archetype, like what you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. That spoke to me.
I see. Do you see yourself in your I don't know how your life plan's looking right now, but
Uh-huh.
before I left, you were gonna do the course, the teaching one to
Yeah,
become a teacher.
yeah, yeah.
Does it relate to that?
Yes, I would say so. And I'm doing that now still, like 6 months into doing it, really doing it. And it definitely feels like something I should be doing. Whereas I feel like I've worked other jobs before or even studying Egyptology, it felt more like a don't worry, be happy type of thing for me. Like just
Yeah,
straight curiosity and kind of what is good for me or what I find interesting, as opposed to what qualities do I have that can serve others more, let's say. So it does feel like that. And in a way, that's even more joyous and uh, fulfilling
that's
because
very
it's
nice.
got both aspects. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I see.
But I don't want to. I don't want to trail off. I want to like
Okay.
because I've never. I don't think I've ever. This is good though. I like it. I don't think I've ever fully gotten your story. What I really like is to know what people were like when they were kids, for example. And I've spoken about that a bit with you, but yeah.
That's a fair question. So, well, as you know, my name's David.
Uh-huh.
I was born in Brazil, in São Paulo, to be more precise. And well, my mom's French Spanish. My dad's Brazilian, but he's from the Northeast, from a city called Recife. So, well, I was born in São Paulo, grew up in São Paulo until I was 14. Then, at the age of 14, I moved
Yeah.
to Madrid. Uh, I'll firstly share the timeline.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
from Madrid, I stayed here 4 years-ish and went to The Hague to study uni. Finished last year and took a gap year. In this gap year that's still going on, right? It's June still.
Yeah.
I I worked during the summer there, came back to Madrid for a month and a half, and after that it's when the Rio gap year started because I went back to Brazil. It was only the third time that I went back since 2017, so I haven't been there many times since I moved. And it was very special actually because I spent like 7 months in South America in total. I did a like really short internship
Mm.
related to climate change, like activism and stuff like that. The so-called sustainable development. The internship ended in in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil with an event. And then from then on, it was like the Rio trip. Uh, and then, well, I during these months, I traveled a bit of South America, went down from the Colombian Brazilian rainforest all the way to Uruguay, but through the Pacific coast.
Mhm.
And then during Carnival, I went back to Brazil, which was insane. It was the
Nice.
first carnival that I spent there as a grown up. Um, yeah, it was just marvelous. Really fun story though is that I got something on my throat during the time I was in the Amazon. It was mid-January.
Mhm.
Um, and then it didn't go away, so I spent like 2 months with a sore throat, and it was quite bad sometimes. Then I got to Rio. I went to like a hospital, uh, and I asked the woman, "So, hey, like these meds, can I start to take them after Carnival? Because I wish I could be drinking." And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." And I drank so much, and I'm not a person who drinks a lot. And I drank so much and I got better from drinking, which is quite insane. So yeah, I don't know. It was just a very nice reminder of that sometimes we just need to dance our way
Uh,
to heal and yeah, these like things that are not very conceived in nowadays medicine are very healing also. I don't know. I just laughed a lot. I danced a lot.
yeah.
I sang songs. That was really fun. But anyways, continuing the story, right?
Mhm.
So after that, I went to visit my dad in the north of in the north of the country in Recife, and then I went back to São Paulo by bus, bit by bit, got to know a bit more of my country, which was lovely. Uh, and yeah, now I'm back in Madrid. Next year, I'm moving to Copenhagen to study my master's. That's kind of like the
Yeah.
short story of my life.
That's the facts of it. Okay. What is the program called actually? If you want to share it for the
Yeah,
masters.
I'm studying climate change, so it's gonna be MSc climate change in Copenhagen University,
Yeah.
and there are two main tracks. One is the kind of like earth sciencey one that's related to all of the, I don't know, natural processes of Earth. And
Mm.
there's the other one, which is the one that I'm going to be doing, that's related to governance, mitigation, adaptation. And I'm about to figure out a little bit more about it.
Yeah. When I enrolled in my program, I literally like knew nothing.
Yeah, Egyptology just popped.
Yeah, yeah, just go. I think that's the
Nice.
most fun way to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Zero
yeah,
knowledge and all exploration once you're there. Although it's good to prepare. Let's
it is. But you
let's
know, the nice thing when I think about it, at least for me, is that I finished uni, like my bachelor's, and I was so over like studying.
yeah,
It was quite draining, especially at the end. So I was gonna take this gap year as well to like,
assess.
recharge and
Yeah.
everything. But one thing that I wrote down on my notebook that I think that summarizes what my objective was for this trip was to find magic,
Mm.
uh, or to encounter magic. I wrote it in Portuguese, so I don't have the precise words.
Uh-huh.
And it is so nice because I feel that I did find it. Uh, And that's such a nice feeling, and it makes me feel so good about also going back to,
Yeah.
to uni for a little bit,
Yeah.
studying a little bit more. But
Yeah.
also, yeah, it's a chapter that's opened up that like had it happened like a year ago, I don't think that I would have had the energy to actually go straight to it. And
No.
having this time in between sometimes when you can afford it, of course, it's such a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah. So what is magic to you?
That's such a good question. I think there are many types of magic. You could help me out here because I know that you also have your opinions. I think that the magic that I was looking for was, wait, let me rephrase this. You know when somebody asks you, um, how is it being in love? And
Yeah.
you try to explain it, but in the end you cannot because it's somehow like you need to feel it to actually comprehend it.
Yeah.
I think that the magic that I was looking for was somewhat related to that
Yeah.
understanding of like you need to live it to actually, be able to
Yeah.
feel it. And in that regard, well, I'm from South America, or at least I consider myself from South America, even though like half of my family is from Europe as well.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that there is a feeling of, at least for me, right, in that continent
Mm.
that that is very particular to the place itself, you know.
Yeah.
It's such a fucked up continent as well, like such like messed up reality, socioeconomic issues and everything. But at the same time, there is just something to it that I cannot explain. It was just,
Mm.
I could see a bird flying here in Madrid, for instance, and say like, "Hey, this is beautiful." But when I'm in in a mountain or just in a very crowded city, maybe it's just a different, yeah, perception of reality. I don't
I
know
really
how I can
understand what you
explain.
mean. No, but I really get it. It's hard to describe. It's like enchanted. It's an enchanted way of experiencing the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to do with the place you're in. I sometimes feel that as well. Um, Definitely some places are more conducive to that than others. Maybe also your history has to do with it. Like for example, for me growing up, magic was the opposite of what I was experiencing. Because I don't know. I think from very early age, I felt that it didn't exist or that the world was not very meaningful. I was a little dark little child, you know. Like I thought about it. I thought about it in a very like materialistic way and stuff like that. It wasn't until later on that I could see just the world around me becoming more magic. But that's kind of putting on different glasses, you know.
How was I'm quite curious, how was your trip this last one?
Oh,
Did you have any
Malaysia.
magical? Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely magical. I think mostly for the people there. They're so, man, we were just speaking off air about like Copenhagen and Danish people or Dutch people that they might be quite similar. And I think a way to describe Dutch people is that they're direct and that they're a little unrefined, maybe a little like rough. Uh, the Malaysian people are so often so they've got this refinedness that respectfulness. I don't know how to describe it. The Japanese have to a degree as well. So they have that politeness as well, but then they're also warm. That was really magical to experience. Like just strangers being so kind and so warm and so respectful at the same time.
Can
Uh,
you share one story or a moment that
well,
pops up to
many
your
like
head?
we had a taxi driver. This was really beautiful. Where in Malaysia, taxis are super well. You have like a type of Uber, but it's called Grab, and it's like super cheap. So we basically took that everywhere also because it was so warm. That was really nice to take it. It's also not the best. Like Kuala Lumpur, you don't want to cycle there. It's not really possible. But yeah, we went into the taxi with him. It was like a 40-minute drive, I think. And after a couple minutes, I found out that he was deaf because there was a little sign he couldn't speak. And then we just started to communicate. Like he would write something on his phone and ask questions and stuff like that. And it was so wholesome. Like it was so special. So and we connected so deeply just by exchanging these little notepad. Like we would write something on the on the Apple Notes and give it back to him. And then he wanted to make a picture with us before we left. Um, yeah, that was just as if you're family with someone within 5 minutes. And we've had that with so many taxis we took, like a whole story, every one of them. Um, yeah, that was big. Also, just I mean, people on the street, people find it annoying that people like come up to you and ask for you to join their restaurant or whatever and like come eat there. They do
Hmm.
that a lot in Malaysia, but I always answer them being like, "No, thank you, it's okay." And then they'll look back at me, it's like, "Oh, no problem, no problem, no problem at all." Ask something, and they're like super cute, you know. It's just so sweet. Like I just feel the humanity of it was so real. Even in a
Yeah.
marketplace type of thing, you know, like you really feel, yeah, something enchanted about it for sure. That was really sweet.
When you say that, the image that comes or like the thought that comes to my mind, also something that I don't have an answer to,
Hmm.
but I would like to know your opinion actually, is how how clashy it can be also the fact of like we see this humanity or like this this empathy, this I don't know, just this it's kind of feels like people kind of feel magnetic in that way of they're very nice, but we're also entering these places as people who have a lot of power, and by that I mean like economic capacity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So sometimes also like during my trip during in South America these past months, um, I felt kind of troubled
mm,
with the fact that I was not from there, and at the same time I was consuming some type of magic that only because I have the money
yeah,
to go there I can consume it, you know?
yeah.
So up to what point is it, is it real or is it um
Yeah,
ethical, or do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I think it's I think it's you should look for the authentic experiences, not the ones where like it's almost fabricated for you because you're the tourist or the one with the money or something like that. I generally found it difficult to be like people to treat you differently like that. The place that I think I liked the most was the marketplace, like a really raw marketplace in the Chinatown, where it was just so many different people, and just to talk to people there and kind of connect to them. Um, I think I think there's an initial barrier when you're a tourist or when you're someone from another place, but I think that barrier is like quite quickly overwritten if you reciprocate the type of respect. Um, like you
Yeah.
don't put yourself above anyone. That's for sure a very big thing that I experienced, and I was really struggling with it during the trip, especially like some point we went to a really nice place where like everything's done for you, like a resort type of place. And I just kept telling my wife, like, I'm really uncomfortable with people treating me like a master or something. Like I would want
Yeah.
to clean up after myself instead of someone having to like do all that stuff for me. That just makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. But I think to go back to your question, because I'm not sure if I'm getting at it really proper. I think to kind of try to inhabit the world that the people there inhabit as much as possible. And then to have those experiences. Like, for example, I'd love this idea to go, for example, to the Amazon and to actually experience what maybe a tribe their life is like. There's this really awesome guy that I've followed. When I was sick, I really got into survival shows. There's this one guy. I don't know why I really like it. There's this one guy who is really like a survivor. He's a really cool guy. He's from I don't know, Canada or whatever. And he goes to all these different places in the world, like South America, Africa, and he actually knows a lot of these languages as well. And he will go on the hunt with them. He will do their rituals. He will like have to do all the stuff that they're doing. Um, and yeah, it just feels like leveling in a way, appreciating more than like tolerating or studying or something like that. Like I hate the idea of anthropology as a study of other people's. I love the idea of connecting to people wherever whoever they are, and I think that's when you experience the most magic. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
And
It's quite interesting because when you were mentioning this guy who went through the Amazon, for instance, before that there was an image coming to my head, which is at the beginning of my trip. So after I finished my internship at this event in the Amazon,
mhm,
it was in the border between Brazil, Colombia, and Peru.
yeah,
So it's geographically wise and culturally wise, it's quite interesting as well for many reasons. But one of them is that in the Brazilian side, there is the city called Tabatinga,
mhm,
and then on the Colombian side, there is Leticia, and then there is the Amazon River, and in another piece of land there is the Peruvian part.
yeah,
But the Brazilian and the Colombian parts, they are, you can just cross to the other side and everything is fine.
yeah,
Um, and after this internship ended, I went to a ecotourism kind of thing with some indigenous people, with some Ticuna people on the Colombian side. And Another word that was popping up in my head while you were talking is like authenticity,
Hmm.
which is something that whilst I do agree with you that it's very important for us to look for it and like, try to find ways of actually having the real experience.
Yeah.
Uh, it's also very hard to, at least that's how I felt, to really feel like you're embarking into like an authentic,
Yeah.
um, you know, couple of days. And as I was saying before, so I went to this eco trip, like this ecotourism kind of thing. We took this boat with a guy with some indigenous people, right? They have their own company. We took a boat, we went like an hour and something boat ride up the Amazon River, and then we got to this community's village. And one of the main things that shocked me a lot during that experience is that one of the days we had a meeting with the pajé. Pajé is the Portuguese word. I don't remember the word in Spanish, but it's kind of like the spiritual leader.
Hmm.
In my very white words, that's how I would put it. Like the spiritual leader, the political leader, the organizer of the community, right? And we had this talk with him. It was just me and another Australian girl and like a friend. There was a French guy and a girl from Germany. But these two Europeans, they were there for a bit longer. So like during our talk, it was just me and this Australian girl. And I was translating it to her, whatever he was saying. And after that, we went back to the main village or like to the houses that we were staying at, and we had a conversation with the guy who was actually kind of like uh being the guy like for our excursion or our
Hmm.
experience, and he's one of the sons of the pajé. And it was fascinating but also very saddening, the reality that one of the things that he said is that the all of the knowledge that this guy has, the leader, the pajé, is going to fade away because in their culture you have to be born a leader to actually become one, like a spiritual one, a spiritual guy, let's put it like that. Um, so this guy, whose name I cannot remember,
Hmm.
um, he was also like an ayahuasca leader or something like that. He's been like in a lot of magazines when back in the day when magazines were still a thing.
Yeah.
And and it's so sad because, he's very old. He's gonna die somewhat soon, unfortunately. And all of this knowledge that's been passing through generations and generations and generations is going to just fade away, you know. And then I wonder, up to what point had I gone to, Leticia and Santa Sofia, which is the place that they live, up to what point, if I went in 5 years from now, had I not met this guy, would I be able to, consider that I was living an authentic reality? And surely I would be, but it would be on kind of like dead land in a way,
Yeah.
Because,
It's
and then
gone.
it made me feel so bad because there's so much knowledge that we're losing at such a high speed. It's been 500 years since it's been happening, of course, but we're getting to a point that like our word has also changed so much that in their perception, that's how they explain it to me. The word that exists right now does not have space for people like this spiritual leader
Yes.
to be born into.
Ah.
And it's horrible, just the idea that we're impoverishing our word and we cannot really do anything because it's theoretically not in our hands. Uh, yeah, I just went about with this because of the authenticity talk that we were
Yeah, yeah,
having,
of
and
course.
but yeah, it was something that was very troubling, and I felt quite worried and sad and unable to do anything that really like could have an impact.
Yeah. So you're saying that you have to be born there a spiritual, or you have to be born a leader to become one, right?
Yeah,
And so the
yeah,
reason that no one is there's no succession there is because this world is not according to them, let's say, fruitful enough for someone to
Yeah,
be born into spiritually.
exactly.
Did they explain why that is? Or is it just because it's disappearing or
It's
other influence?
this might be like stretching too much, but there is like the word is just not the same one anymore. So like
Yeah.
spiritually, like people cannot come to this word in that way. But I would go back to the idea of magic, right? Like
Yeah.
we're losing magic in a way.
You're sucking it out of the world, let's say.
Yeah.
It definitely
Uh,
does feel like that.
but they didn't have an explanation, or at least I cannot remember one
Yeah,
that I could communicate
I
with this.
understand.
Yeah,
It's kind of implied.
it is. And yeah, another thing that's made me like really worried there, or that I was not expecting at all, is how much alcohol is a problem. This is off the topic completely, but
But
I just
there, you
wanted,
mean in those
yeah,
tribes?
yeah,
I know tobacco as well in a lot of places I heard. Like it's really catching on.
like indigenous communities there, like such a huge problem in Brazil.
Yeah.
Like I saw a lot of signs close to that city, to Tabatinga, that it was prohibited to sell alcohol to indigenous people. Uh, and it's so fucked, in my opinion, right? Um,
So why they prohibit it to
they
them?
prohibited because, well, white people has had we've had alcohol for such a long time, so in a way, like it's okay
Integrated.
to our system, or it's integrated indeed.
Yeah.
But for indigenous people, it's still something that's not theirs, so the impact it has on their system it's bigger, and also it kind of like increases all of the other problems that they face as
Yeah.
indigenous people.
Yeah.
So it's just, layering problem above layer. Uh, so also just becoming more violent, or increasing the domestic violence problems that have there. Alcohol is a driver of that.
Of course. So I'm seeing that there's two worlds that are kind of not compatible. Both of the things that you're describing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question what to do about that. I mean, it definitely has happened before in history, I feel like, where, for example, I think Egypt is an example of it when the Greeks come in, or even when the Romans take over eventually, and the Egyptian gods, they just kind of die and they lose their, or not fully, but they kind of lose their identity and they lose their house, their home. Um, but especially nowadays, it feels there's this term called disenchantment. So it's the opposite of enchantment. So you
Yeah.
feel disenchanted with the world. You feel that the magic doesn't exist anymore. You know, we don't believe in fairies and angels and all these things. And I kind of feel like the environment also doesn't allow for it, with cameras everywhere, with like we're measuring everything, you know?
Yeah.
And so one of my things that I'm trying to do just as a daily lived experience is kind of re-enchanting reality. I think that's a really, and I feel conversation is part of that too, because there's a chance that when you speak to another person, that there's like a life beyond the two of you. There's like a, yeah, like a spirit of the conversation. That's where I always felt throughout the last couple of years that I hold on to the most tightly. It's like, okay, there I see something that's enchanted, that's something special, like divine or something. Uh, I really, really try to cling on to that, or in contact with people like from anywhere. That's why I love The Hague, because there's people from everywhere here, and
Yeah.
you get to see like sometimes you get to see just a person unfold completely when you speak to them. That's magic, and that's not going anywhere, no matter what happens in the world. And so I'd like to hope that we could like extrapolate that and re-enchant
Yeah.
the world a little bit, no matter what is happening. Um, but the loss of a culture and a people and the knowledge, that's like a very hard reality, I'd say. But sometimes I think what is like temporary is always going to perish, and what is eternal is never going to perish. So the
Yeah.
eternal kind of like the spiritual realities that these people are in contact with or have been in contact with, I don't think they're disappearing. So I try to get hope from that, and then hopefully find a way to,
I have a question, Lucas.
yeah,
I feel that I'm sure that I've asked you this question before, but a long time ago.
yeah,
But are you religious or do you identify with
yeah,
any? Yeah, I'd like to hear about that.
yeah. Well, it's a difficult term because I think usually when people hear that word, it connotates like it has like a negative stickiness to it of like, oh, maybe you're judgmental about things, you know, which it should be. I really think it should be the opposite. As like I understand, it's kind of a word I like really avoided for a long time, or like I would avoid to speak about God simply because it has all this sticky connotation to it, or people would do things in the name of God. For example, in South America, that is like despicable and like the furthest thing from, doing
Yeah,
high things as possible. So, but no, I am like definitely a long journey, but mm, I was raised in a religious type of way in terms of I went to church and stuff like this, but I didn't feel the enchantment or the magic at all. And so
yeah,
I don't know, I wasn't inhabiting it at all. And I kind of went far from it because I just didn't feel there was anything to it. And I mean, like we discussed when we spoke before, I think that I kind of felt a switch in my life at some point. I think I started opening up to it more when I started meditating and things like that. Uh, start to experience like there's definitely a little bit more going on. And then, of course, having experienced the ayahuasca, that opens you up.
yeah.
It's like wanted to experience something that like is undeniable. That you'll get it from that for sure. Um, but that I was still not like, okay, now I'm religious or something. It was more like I
Hmm.
see spirituality as something real. And I think after that, it was kind of searching for, okay, do I need to be part of something, tradition or a school of thought or religion? Um, and then I kind of slowly started to be more comfortable with Christianity that I still felt was kind of a part of me, like just a fundamental way of thinking, trying to live like um, Christ is definitely a part of me. And yeah, using that as something to lean on and hold tight to. Because I definitely found for me that being part of a tradition of something rather than nothing has been more helpful to deepen my spirituality or my connection to something higher, um, as opposed to just not doing that. So I actually quite recently have tried to start going back to a church. It's a different type of church. Uh, Largely attracted by it because of the aspect of community and ritual, and it's like an international type of environment, like it's an English church. It's a lot of different people coming together that
Yeah.
started to feel like really right to me. um so good for me personally, but also like part of this thing of the Lion King,
Yeah.
feeling like, okay, there's things for me to do here and people to help and to be helped and to like, you know in a tribe where everything makes sense and there's like, it's all integrated. I feel like nowadays it's kind of the opposite, and we're atomized, like we're all living our own little lives. And there's people on this side of the wall that I don't know, and there's someone on this side of the wall that I don't really like because he's been doing construction on my rooftop, and I don't like it. It makes a lot of noise, and to kind of reconnect to the environment around you. That has been part of the motivation to kind of reconnect to those roots. But much more deeply than all of that, it's definitely of a faith that there's something more. Um, but so yeah, I would say that I'm religious in the sense that I feel I believe there's a God. I believe there's definitely a lot more than this experience. That's the most undeniable part for me. Um, and I think more the Christian aspect, I feel like is part of me, and I just believe that the self-sacrifice that I read in that story is what the world is built on fundamentally. Like that's really important. But all of it to say is not that I exclude other things because I don't really understand a lot of other traditions. Um, I also practice yoga, and my wife is very deep into that tradition, and I don't feel like it conflicts directly with it. Um, but yeah, that's I think how I would answer it, the question.
That was a lovely answer. Thank you.
And I'm curious about you.
Yeah.
How do you consider that
Um,
question?
Let me see. The question per se was if I'm religious, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. You can take it
Okay.
anywhere.
No, I surely will. So on my last uni class during my bachelor's
Yeah.
in The Hague, I was taking a class with a great professor called Dr. Brandon Zika. The name of the class was Foundational Debates of Governance, Economics, and Development. And it was very much not a normal class in many ways. And one of them is that the first, let's say, like three classes, like the only thing that we did was we sat in on a circle,
Yeah.
and like each person would be telling about their journey, like their political journey, or how they, what brought them to the point they are at that point. And at that point, I was like, bro, like, am I paying tuition for this? But in the end, like, as classes, went by, it made me question a lot of the things that I had, um, for sure, a lot
Hmm.
of my political ideas,
Yeah.
funnily enough. And unfortunately, the class ended with me being very disenchanted
Yeah.
with a lot of the things that I thought were I consider as truth. But why am I saying this?
Hmm.
One of the main concerns of this professor, Dr. Brandon Zika, or one of the main things that I took out of that class at least, was his worry for the fact that we've never lived in a world with so little religious people.
Mm.
Uh, and that thought's like stayed with me for quite a bit. And I keep thinking about it sometimes still. And it is so true in some aspects, like his worry for that. I imagine that I started to understand it a little bit better. Because, well, as you said, we've never been as atomized as we are right now.
Hmm.
And I kind of feel that religion has a huge part to do with that, or has a big part. It plays a big role. And I considered back then myself a Marxist. I don't know where I stand in the political spectrum right now, honestly. I still like have a lot of things that I say, like this Marx guy, like great guy. But his sentence of like religion is the opium of the people or
Yeah.
whatever. I back in the day I thought that it had so much truth back like to it. And in certain ways, it still makes sense, Brazil, for instance, it's a very, very religious country. It's also a country that public education is not really good. It doesn't cover a lot of people,
Yeah.
and when it does, like the quality is not good. Anyway, there is a lot truth to it, I think, but at the same time, like the cohesive aspect of religion is something that's so under-talked in our
Yeah.
society, I think, and it brings a lot of negative aspects to it. Having said that, I'm not religious, I grew up in an agnostic family, so my mom's side is Jewish. My dad, he grew up in a Catholic family, but he went to a Jewish school when he was young. He went to a like another religious school when he was young as well. So I grew up in a very like non-religious environment,
Yeah.
and the main religion aspect of my upbringing, I think, is that my father would not stop telling me like to be grateful. Like
Mm.
David, like he wouldn't stop telling me about the importance of being grateful. Uh, and growing up, I was just like, all right, I guess, like, sure, but um, I think that I like nowadays I see the importance of it like with more vividly. I think like there's still a huge way to go for me to actually
Yeah.
start to grasp it, like barely well, this notion of how important it is to be grateful. Um, but I also think that it is easier to be grateful or like, have your spiritual path a little bit eased or a little bit
Mm. Yeah.
softer
Yeah.
if you are part of a community, and I think that religion in a way could play or plays a big role in that, like the ways that religion is or you know instrumentalized or fucked up and everything.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not religious still. I would really much like to be more
Uh,
uh or to be put in a religion. But yeah, I think that it's a long walk, and I
yeah.
would I will be happy to explore more and more and more.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so spiritual, as you said, you mentioned the ayahuasca experiences. Yeah, I 100% agree with you that it's impossible to go back into looking at reality with the same eyes.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, as a community, as a group, it still hasn't happened to me. I will enjoy it when it does, when it
Yeah.
feels right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like a journey. You don't know where you're gonna end up. I also don't know if this is the end for me. Like, I have no idea. But at the moment, it feels like the the road to take. Because before this, I would be like super skeptical about things. Like, yeah, but this is wrong with this, and this is wrong with this, and this is wrong with this. And then I spoke to this guy on the channel recently, and we spoke about criticism, and the best way to criticize is to do it within something. So if you want to criticize a university, be in a university environment and like try to do something within it. Or if you want to criticize your country, like take action, like try to um like if you really hate the politics of a country, like create something yourself, do something. So there's this quote that I really live by is that don't criticize but create. And so I think all the trouble that I've seen with it, with religion and bad forms of religion, I think the best way to criticize it is to do it within that structure because I'm too afraid of letting it go because I don't think we can just invent something new and kind of replace it. I think it's way too late for that. Uh,
What do you
but
mean by late?
late in the sense that it's gotten so entrenched, like it's in the bones of our civilization, our religious identity. So I think in that sense, it's grown so deep into us. A lot of us don't say explicitly, and I haven't said that for a long time, that we are Christian, or if maybe you live in a Muslim country that you're Muslim or other. But in action, it's just what a lot of it is built on. And so I think that deep entrenchment, those roots that go so deeply, I don't think you can just cut off from that and be okay. Like you see how it's manifesting now, but I think the real solution has to be. I don't think it can be destruction. I think it has to be something more. constructive. I think from within at the moment. I think so, but I don't know exactly how that's gonna look. But I know it for myself, so I think we should really go back to the our
Yeah.
direct environment. I know the solution here, and I think that ripples out. So you want the world to be better, look at yourself. And it's cliche, but like it's true. Treat the people around you as good as you possibly can, even though you might be really annoyed or you're having a bad day. And like all those kindness, these good deeds, the sacrifices you make, and the service you bring, I really think it ripples out. So I really try my very best to not be resentful or angry or bitter, because I feel like those are real gods that kind of, there's a like dark gods that can, overtake a community or a country or a world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in spite of everything, to look up and to build something.
Talking about looking within,
Yeah.
uh, this is the first time that we're talking in a long time, right?
Yeah.
I started therapy now
Nice.
also, which is
In
very
Madrid
cool.
or online?
It's online, it's
Nice.
online.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the guy's Brazilian, but he lives in Madrid.
So you're doing it in
S-
Portuguese?
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And having that similar history is quite nice. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if we've talked about therapy before.
I
I'm not
don't
sure.
I don't think so.
But I've been wanting to go to therapy for such a long time. Like
Yeah.
it's quite crazy. But I hadn't because of money, blah blah blah. And anyway, like there was a moment like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago that I told my parents like, okay, so like different conversations, of course. But so hey dad, you're going like I really want to go to therapy, but I'm only going after you. So I did kind of like a not a blackmail, but I was not a manipulation, because it was well intended with like
Yeah.
not something that I was gonna take something out of that. But anyway, they started. Right now, only one of them is continuing. But after I achieved that, both of them started. I started going as well. Um, and it's been really nice. I think that it is such a nice instrument
Yeah.
uh to have, like talking to someone and
Hmm.
having someone listen to you
Yeah.
with like attentive ears and like a heart that's not gonna judge, or their brains who are not there to judge. So good to,
Yeah.
treat resentment or like
Yeah.
feelings that, are there, surely.
Mm.
And in our society, they're not seen as good for good reasons,
Yeah.
but having the space to talk about them or share them, so nice.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really curious about it too. I think like if I could just have it now, and like there's someone next door I could do it with, I would just do it. Just that I think it's just good to know yourself, you know.
Yeah.
That's really important. Um,
Have you been
uh,
to therapy?
no, I've never done it. Um, Largely, I think it's because I've never felt like that there was a big issue that I couldn't tackle some other way. But I think maybe therapy is also not about solving an issue. Maybe it's more about exploring or realizing something about yourself. I think definitely being listened to or having someone think along with you is very helpful for that. So I definitely feel that I would benefit from it, for sure. But I kind of feel like my wife is pretty therapeutic to talk to. She's such a
That's
listener,
good.
man. I think she would be great at it too. We kind of each other's therapists at the moment. But I would be very open to it uh, if someone would offer or suggest it. It's just not something that I think I would do out of my own will at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe I'm someone that needs to have like a good reason to. Like I exercise without having broken anything or having any issues. So that's preventative. But I don't go to therapy. Maybe I should treat it more like exercise and stuff like that.
That's an interesting take, like an
Yeah.
interesting comparison.
Yeah. But so
Yeah, I
maybe I'm
mean,
slacking on that front. I'm not sure if I am.
yeah, I don't know. I think that it's fair not to go if you don't feel the need to. But yeah, it's great. It's quite nice to,
Yeah.
get in touch with those parts of you that you don't wanna shine a bright light onto.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's definitely really good. I want to try to do that more in general. I think it's really good. So, question though. So, parts of you that are like darker, or I
Yeah.
don't know if you could call them bad. I'm reading this book. It's called Fantasties, and it's about a character, and he goes to fairyland, like a fairy type of magical world, and he's got this shadow walking around him, like his shadow is following him everywhere, and his shadow is like his dark side, clearly, and he wants his shadow to kind of go away, to go back to the dark place that he belongs to. And I was reading that passage where he was saying that, like, go back to the dark depths that you came from. I don't want you to see you anymore. And I was thinking, is it better for the darker aspects of you to disappear, to be destroyed, or are they there for a reason? Like, do they want to come up and be integrated somehow, or be seen, or I don't know. How do you think about that? Like the darker side, like what do you do with that?
I think that's a great question. There's so many things that I'm feeling that I could say. Um, like first, well, therapy wise, there are many different strands. What I do is psychoanalysis,
Mm,
but I don't want to go down that branch. What I actually want to say is, well, you know that I make music, that I like to paint and everything.
yeah,
So, in my room, in one of my rooms in The Hague, there was this paper that I had. There were kind of like three different frames, I'm sorry, that I'm looking forward to put it up on the wall again in Copenhagen. For now, it's just in a box.
uh-huh,
But so it's three frames. The first one, there are two characters. One that's kind of like sunny, like it's bright. It's got like the clothes that it's wearing. It's like very light. The other one you can definitely see like it's also dark. It's heavier. And so the first frame is like the bright character looking at the other one into the eye. The second one, uh, the the bright side like takes the shoulders of the other one, and the
yeah,
third one is the bright one like hugging the dark side.
yeah,
Uh, and it was like a post that I saw on Instagram or something like that, and I just printed it and put it
yeah,
up on my wall because I think it's a very nice reminder of like how we need to treat our the parts in ourselves that we don't think deserve to be are deserving of us.
yeah,
I firmly believe that, how'd you say? Wow.
mhm,
Like this dark side of us that we generally we can call them bad or like weakened or problematic. They've come to exist for a reason,
mm,
and generally it's there to protect us.
mm,
So, turning around, turning back to looking at its eyes and looking at us as we would with like a child is so important.
yeah,
I've been this could be quite bad, but I've been quite into looking at reels or like reading like short articles
uh-huh,
about psychology and like how kids develop.
yeah,
Um, Also, like, to also be a good parent when it comes to time, if I become a parent, because
yeah,
I don't think that it's ever too early to start learning.
uh-huh,
But through this process, I've also like learned that. have being curious about how children like develop. It's so good to understand myself as well, because
Hmm.
so many tools that you would want to use or you would want to learn to actually be a good parent can also be used to treat like these bad
Yeah.
parts that we have
Yeah.
within us.
That's good.
Uh, so yeah, I don't know, like that's how I see it. Like we just have to find ways to make these parts feel seen and heard, and because they're not going away.
No. No. So that's the, yeah. Okay. That's good. They're not going away. Yeah. They're parts. They're parts of you. Yeah. 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 I see what you mean. Because there's a part of me that was like, could they go away or could they just stop existing? But I guess they're just there. And maybe everything in its proper place type of thing.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a more merciful way to see ourselves as well. And that's very important because we can be very judgmental with ourselves.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes people forget people are very merciful to other people, but then to themselves and their insides, they're like the most judgy.
Yeah.
Although it's an interesting case the other way around as well.
It is.
Probably a rough person to be around. No, so tell me about music, because, well, first of all, the song you made for your dad, I've listened to it so many times. I was just like singing it a bit before we started. I always have that first line in my head, but it's, yeah, it's really beautiful. And
Thank you.
I will link it below. Maybe can I play it
Yeah,
after I
yeah,
edit this?
of
Can I
course.
put it in?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
put it in the start or the end, because I just thought it was beautiful. Um, well, maybe we can start with that song.
of
What
course.
what made you want to make that song?
So, well, since the people, if anyone's listened, don't know me, I'm gonna give a short
Yeah,
introduction about that aspect of me.
let's do it.
So when I moved to Madrid when I was 14, like a year after that, for many reasons, I started to compose on the guitar, and I didn't have a teacher or anything, so it was all quite uh self-taught.
Hmm.
And my compositions kind of like um they got to a point last year that I finished 12 songs, let's put it like that.
Yeah,
And I had this project of, making a concert so that I could, like a fundraiser to send money for like a social cause that I have a lot of respect for in Brazil. Um, and I hadn't finished the 12 songs by the point that I set the date for this concert.
yeah,
So it's quite interesting that like, okay, gotta rush with some of these songs. And it was a very, very nice period in which, uh, like creativity wise, I was booming, like blossoming. It was very pretty in that sense. Regarding this song you're talking about, which is Disse Meu Pai, or Said to My Dad, or Said My Dad. It began when I was in a farm in Brazil in 2021. So I was just sitting after like working in the field that day. And I got the guitar. I was traveling with a friend. We were at this place for a week and a half, I think. Uh, and then there was an image that came to my head, which was, I'm gonna say something that's related, but somewhat weird. You know that image of the Ninja Turtles with the
huh?
rat, in which like the rat's big and like the Ninja Turtles are like kids. And
Yes, I
then
think
the
so.
second one is like the big turtles and he's like an old
Yeah,
man,
yeah, 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 yeah. I know
you
it. Yeah.
know?
So the rat is like the master, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So making use of that, the image that came to my mind was just me and my dad in a corridor. And the first line of the song is Vai que eu vou atrás, vai que eu vou atrás, disse meu
yeah,
pai. Go and I'll go behind you, go and I'll go behind you, said my dad. And that was how the song started, right? Like this image of paternal figure supporting you, but at some point, like you just have to keep going, because that's how life works, and theoretically or naturally, and and when there is love, in my opinion, you gotta believe in it because you're not gonna have them at some point.
Yeah.
Uh, and since my dad was and is still alive, I wanted to make a song with that image in mind of like, fuck, like he's just telling me to go, I'm the new
Mm.
generation and everything. And that's when the song started. That's when the song was born. I was at this farm and like the first chords. It's a very simple song, in fact, like chords wise. It's the like by far the simplest song that I have, but poetry wise, it can also be seen as the most impactful.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, go said my dad, go said my dad, and I'll go behind you. And it was just that image. And how did it continue? So at the point that I said the concert, there were still like two or three songs that I hadn't finished yet, and that was one of them. Like I had maybe a little bit more of it written down, but most of it was not ready. And it's quite interesting because I knew that I was gonna keep like a verse of the song in the actual song. The quality criteria was like if I start sobbing, it's because it's good. So like
That's the best.
so like the rest of the song,
Yeah.
like it was written like sentence by sentence, and it was the criteria. Okay, I'm gonna cry for 30 minutes now. Okay, let's put it to the final version.
Yeah.
And he was just that, and he started compounding it up until the point that it was finished. And it's actually recorded, and you know of this song because one of the people who I played with,
Yeah.
like during the concert that we did, during the fundraiser, he was at the conservatoire and everything. Amazing guy, um, Pablo. Anyway, he liked the lyrics as well so much that he wanted to record it. And since it's a very simple song, like the process was quite easy or manageable. So yeah, that's how this song came to be. Just crying and through that process, like knowing that it's something that's worth sharing.
Yeah. I'm curious how your dad responded to it or when you listened to it.
Yeah. So there were two instances, in fact. The first one is that I was not home,
Mm.
and then so back in my old room in The Hague, I had a wall that was just composed of my songs. That's how
Hmm.
I was making them, like taking a piece of paper and then to kind of organize them. So I think that he got at our apartment, me and an old friend, a bit earlier that day than I got. And he went into my room and then he started looking at my songs. So he read that song without knowing that it existed. And I don't remember if it was my mom or my old roommate who told me, but like he started crying. And then by the time I got home, he had already, read it and everything was fine. Um, but yeah, that happened. And so that's the first time that
Mm.
he got in touch with this
Mm.
with the song. The second one, after like my class graduated, we went back to my apartment, me and my mom and my dad. And anyways, I played the song to my dad. I played another song to her. And yeah, he sobbed and I sobbed. I have
Yeah.
a recording of that. And then half of the recording, like I
Yeah.
cannot even pronounce the words per se because I'm just physically unable to.
Yeah.
And it was very pretty actually because we took the tram. I was taking them back to Den Haag Central, I think, because they were taking the train to go back to Amsterdam because they were staying there with a friend. And then my dad just dropped the sentence, "This is the most beautiful present that I've received in my life." And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, wow.
Amazing.
Um, but yeah, that's the story of the song. And there's more to it, but that's the summary, let's say.
It's incredible. I Yeah, I was really moved by it as well when I listened to it for the first time and then again and again. And I'm trying to remember, was there an animation with it as well that you made? Or
No,
no,
that it was a
that's
drawing.
the
There is
other
a
one.
drawing.
Yeah, it was a drawing. Yeah, yeah. It was the drawing that stayed with me.
The drawing
Yeah,
is of the, so I recorded the time that I played to him. I was
yeah,
sitting at a chair, he was sitting at the couch, and it was a drawing that I made
yeah,
of the footage of that day.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I
But it's
think,
a very simple drawing.
huh?
But it's a very simple drawing,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
is how
But
I
this
draw. Yeah.
simplicity is beautiful, man. Sometimes, like same with the first line of the song, I feel the same way about it. It's like it's the same thing with poetry. Sometimes there's a poetry line that just, man, it hits. It can be so simple. It could have been said before. Or it could have been expressed in a different way, but just in this time, this context, and just just rips. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
How I have a question regarding that.
yeah,
How do you feel about kids? Because you found a beautiful person and I know you're in love and
yeah,
you're engaged.
yeah,
And nowadays it's not it doesn't happen very often for people to
yeah,
get together at such early stage.
yeah,
Early because it's nowadays, right? Back in the
yeah,
time, it was what was supposed to
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
How do you feel about that? You're still young,
yeah.
very young. You have a lot of things to do, but do you have that, desire?
Ambition, yeah. Well, I think I had it very strongly before, but I think it's very important to be like on the same page about it. Uh, and so I'm not sure if she'd be comfortable. So I will speak about it to you. I don't know if I'll keep it, but I don't think
Okay.
she would be. Um, maybe not ever, but maybe definitely not now, let's say.
Hmm.
I definitely feel with teaching that I'm getting a lot of that, like, a lot of those responsibilities already. And it's definitely making it very real as to how difficult it is. So that's uh it's good to interact with it regardless, whether it would happen later or not. Like you said, it's never too early to learn about these things. Also, because you deal just with a lot. Um, but definitely, like I made it known very early on that it's like something that I would see myself being able to do or wanting to do. But again, I think it needs to align.
Yeah.
Both needs to fully want to do it, and it also can't be like, oh, I would do it for you. Like it needs to come from both. Like you really, really want. Because I think as rare as it is, it still happens a lot that sometimes people do it out of social norm or expectation without really fully being behind it. And that can
Yeah.
be a bit sad for the child because I'm dealing, of course, with a lot of parents and a lot of broken homes in the neighborhood that I teach in. I definitely see that happen. And then the opposite end of the spectrum is to kind of never do it because you never think you're enough or never think you're good enough. And I also don't think that's really there. So so yeah, maybe if ever be blessed with it. Maybe not, but I'm happy to already get a sense of giving to a next generation in this way. That's very special. Um,
Yeah.
and seeing the challenges right away that come with it, because they'll make you go crazy, but it's also the most one of the most precious experiences you'll ever have to kind of inspire.
Let me then continue in a different direction.
Yeah,
So in this song, I talk about, in a way, like it is the realization of the process of the life process, of you stop being a kid and you start, being the one on
yeah,
the lead.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
about this transformation that's, it can be very painful, but at the same time, it's a natural path of life. I was curious about how teaching is for you then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wild, man. It's I was speaking to Jack and Domenico. You know Domenico, right? I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
them here today. I was telling them it's the most fulfilling and the most training thing in the world because it takes all of you. You can't just be half of yourself there. Like you have to. at least for me myself, I have to just fully be there all the time.
Yeah.
It's not a job that you can like half do and you're maybe have another tab open on your laptop, whatever. You have to fully be there for those kids, and there's a million things happening at the same time. Um, but largely, I love it. I love it in the same way that I love anything that has gripped me throughout my life, where it's very difficult, it's very rewarding. There's a learning curve that's just never ending because you can't be perfect at it. You know, you're always going to be able to get better or worse. Um, but more than anything, it's like working with people and especially kids, like really special for me that I get to have that as my daily life, my work. That's a dream. It was one of the things that I really wanted to avoid, to work in an office or uh, be behind a computer all day. Definitely studying made me realize that that's not for me. So in that sense, it's a massive step up, and really, I really cherish it. Even though it's especially lately, it's been really difficult because I've been doing a lot of days on my own, and they really test you. Um,
What's
but
the
yeah,
age group?
huh? Age
What's
group
the
is
age group?
11, like a 10, 11 at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, man. Next year,
Whoa.
like after the summer, I'm going down a couple of years. So I'm doing 9-year-olds, 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
Um, but each have their own challenges, you know.
Yeah.
But I like it. Like I don't think I would at the moment be ready to do anything above 12, just for many different reasons. Phones primarily, just this behavior that comes with it. But I do love it. Like I love it as a thing that is just it's so primal, and also I get to speak to it with anyone because all generations know this craft. So it's a very connecting type of craft as well. Like everyone knows someone that is a teacher or has been a teacher. So that's a really cool aspect too. So you get to relate a lot and speak a lot about it and think about it and get help from other people. Uh, and you get to find out what you're made of. So,
Let
so
me
that's,
ask you something else then.
yeah, go ahead.
This is no speculation, it's just because I don't know a lot about
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you can pinpoint one thing of like that you wish you could share that's yours with your students, you know? Because I know that like you likely have to follow like a
Yeah.
course, how'd you call it? Like
Yeah.
like
Curriculum.
yeah, curriculum and everything. But it's a person still teaching it, right?
Yeah.
So what's the Luca's input in the education of these kids? What you wish you would be sharing of yourself or the person or the things
Yeah.
that you believe in?
Man, it's so difficult because like I think everyone comes in with a lot of ideas and they want to share them. But before you can actually do that, it takes a while and courage and practical implementation. I've been lucky to already have had the opportunity to speak to the kids about mindset and uh, you know growth mindset of a type of way of thinking where you don't consider yourself fixed in terms of your intelligence or your capability, that you can look at the tasks at hand or the subject that you're learning, and you can just tell yourself, maybe I not possess this knowledge yet, maybe I can't do this yet, but I'll be able to do this if I put hard work to it. That's one thing that I've been able to share, but it's not the thing that's like closest to my heart. I think if I could really share anything that I could share, it would be, yeah, this kind of worldview that's love centric, that maintaining that reality is good, even though there's so much suffering in it. Uh, if I could really transmit that, that would fill my heart. If I could help the next generation to see the light despite all of the darkness, to look at the sky and look at the stars and think, you know, the light is winning, that'd be awesome. To Yeah, I wish the next generation has that as a core thing because I think that's the best way to move forward. is to believe that there's these opportunities and that goodness is at the basis of it. But how to transmit that, I don't know. Bit by bit, man.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
an amazing answer. Thank you.
Thank you. What about you? What if you could teach anything you could teach or give anything you could give to young people?
Well, I'm not a teacher, right? So
Yeah, but
I don't I'm not in that place yet. Uh, but I mean, it might be very weird for like, a city boy to say this, but if I ever um get into like a school program or something like that in which I have to share something,
mm,
I think that this love-centric notion you shared or importance is in fact very paramount to creating like good human beings. But another thing that comes a lot to my mind is how we lack as a society, as like a time in history, how we lack um, environmental education and
yeah,
like contact with nature
yeah,
or green locations. So I if I had to teach something, I would really like to learn it first, in
yeah,
fact, which would be botanic or something like that,
yeah, yeah,
and field trips or something, or I'm being very uh thinking very far ahead
yeah,
because I don't feel in the place of teaching things still.
yeah,
But yeah, I would like to just be in a place or have knowledge and the ability of like taking a plant and say, hey, this is X plant.
yeah,
Like, touch it, put it on the ground. Let's put some soil on top of it. Let's water it. Um, and I think that this connection with the natural world that we're increasingly, losing is very important for many reasons, including
yeah,
reasons that I cannot even understand, but the
yeah,
fact that my body feels calmer or like I have less anxiety,
yeah,
for instance, or people with depression, I don't know, when our feet is touching the ground, like na nature, like the studies that have been done and conducted show that our body reacts in a different way. We're calmer, we're more centered. So I feel that, as a city boy, that's weird to say, but ideally I would like to get into that point and
yeah.
be able to share that.
Man, absolutely. I feel I would agree with that. And I think practically that's more so the direction that I would take as well. I'm lucky because the school's close to the beach as well.
Nice.
Uh, so there's definitely opportunities to do something with that, and I think we should do more with it as a school. But yeah, there's a power to nature that's primal, like you said, inexplicable, what it does to us. But being in contact with it and understanding it and nurturing it, it's so important. I completely agree. Not just for ourselves, but for all of us. Um, it reminds me a bit of what we had earlier in this conversation, where you spoke about the parts of yourself that you need to kind of, I don't know if you said it, but I had this image that you were speaking about. This is embracing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way about like the earth. So to engage in it with a loving relationship, that's that's I think the best because we're on it anyway. So
Yeah.
we create these barriers, like you
We
feel
do.
disconnected from both yourself, like your parts of yourself, but also parts of the world.
Lucas, I've always hated mosquitoes so much. I have
Yeah,
some such vivid images of when I was a kid, like, waking up and not being able to fall asleep until I kill that little insect. And
yeah,
I was vegan for a couple of years. So like killing was a bit weird, but anyway, I couldn't like get rid of this anger I had towards them at any point in life. And then I got to the Amazon, and this might be very silly actually, but I talked to someone and they were explaining to me how mosquitoes are important for stopping like how do you call them? But like the people that go into the Amazon, like loggers,
Oh yeah,
to stop
loggers. Yeah,
loggers
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
stop miners,
yeah.
because there are areas in which like if you know if you decide to go into it, you're just gonna die because of the mosquitoes, the
Yeah.
diseases that they carry and everything. And for the first time in my life, I saw them with good eyes, which was crazy. I never thought it was gonna happen.
Protectors.
Yeah, because they were like they're nature's protectors.
Yeah,
And they suck. I still believe that they do. But there's like a little tiny part of them in my heart that's got a little bit better, where I
yeah,
see them with better eyes.
yeah, yeah. Part to play. Yeah, so maybe that's the same with anger and these dark things that they deserve a little bit, you know?
They do,
They
a
do.
100%.
Yeah.
But I'm like I think that it's that part of, cherishing them has also been able to exist because I didn't get malaria or anything while
Yeah.
I was in the Amazon. Because I think that if I had, like, this would have,
Different story.
yeah, it would have eclipsed completely this tiny space of appreciation that I have for them.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's why I kind of appreciate or admire people the most when they've had something like that, like analogous to what you're saying. Maybe they've been wronged very specifically by whether it's a group of people or an animal or disease. And well, actually, I don't think there's a good case for disease. Let me think about that because disease is an interesting one.
Yeah,
But let's outside of that, that they still kind of can appreciate or see some positive aspect. Like there's a blinding effect to the trauma, right?
yeah,
But to still be nuanced and yeah, to love mosquitoes.
love mosquitoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, beautiful, man. I think that Jules is almost done with dinner actually, but
sweet.
I always have this sense when I speak to you that it's like it's a bit like out of time. Yesterday I was at the beach and just look up at the sky. My mind goes places and stuff, and I like having someone to do that with. So it's very special. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much for the conversation. I also really appreciate our talks.
Yeah, and we'll speak soon. I think 30th you're coming in, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll let you know when I arrive.
Yeah, let me know when and where you are. And it's always better to see you in person, but this was already plenty special and excited to reconnect very
Sweet.
soon.
Thank you so much, Lucas.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you.
lovely dinner.
Appreciate it. You too. Bye bye.
Vai que eu vou atrás, vai que eu vou atrás, disse meu pai. Eu confio em você e ao ver-te crescer, eu sou o homem mais feliz. A isso eu pensei, sente, pensei, sentei, meditei e soltei. Se a vida me desse uma chance de cantar o quão relevante o seu amor foi e é pra mim, a magnitude é tão grande que o tempo é irrelevante. Eu temeria nunca parar. O tempo se faz curto e teus cheiros num segundo curam tudo que tem pra curar. Até depois da voz se desmanchar e eu voltar a ser céu, ecoará gratidão a você, desde trocar minha fralda até crescer comigo. Obrigado, Pai, por ser meu abrigo. Não há careca no mundo que seja mais linda que a sua, nem olhos tão bons e um sorriso tão mel. Pai, você me ensinou a amar ia se dar sem nem hesitar. A terra contigo é melhor. E eu sei que cê ama servir, mas hoje sou eu quem vai te mimar, ou ao menos reverenciar a grandeza dos teus abraços, seu carinho, pequenos gestos, os detalhes e as surpresas, e a comida na mesa, a comida e a mesa, e o seu cuidar, pois ele faz brotar o que de melhor há dentro de mim, dentro de mim. A dona Chloe e o seu Ricardo, onde estiverem, eu sei que estão tão orgulhosos de ti. Cari, 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 cari. Oh Pai, a vida é tão boa por você. Oh Pai, a vida é graças a você. Oh Pai,